Have you ever walked into a room and felt like someone had just left it, but there's no one around? What if an entire camp was like that? A place where people never scream because they forget how? Welcome back to Nightmare and Fear, the place where darkness has a voice. I'm Dylan, and tonight I have something truly strange, a horror story so unthought of, even I had to double-check my own reality after writing it. If you enjoy original, spine-tingling tales, subscribe now and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, grab your flashlight and hold on to your mind, because tonight we enter. When I arrived at Camp Grayshore, I didn't remember why I was there. I stood at the edge of a gravel path, holding a worn backpack with no name tag. A folded paper was crumpled in my fist. On it, scrawled in crooked black ink, "You signed up. You said yes. Don't forget." The camp looked beautiful. Sunlight streamed through tall birch trees, cabins stood tidy, and the lake sparkled like glass. But something was missing. Not visibly. Emotionally. The air felt hollow. Like the land had forgotten what laughter sounded like. I found a counselor badge pinned to my jacket, Dylan Group C. No surname. No staff list. No directions. I walked toward the center of the camp, where the bell tower stood tall. As I got closer, I noticed something strange. The bell was melting. The metal bell drooped at the edges like wax, frozen mid-drip. No birds chirped. No wind. No sound. And the moment I stepped under the tower, I forgot my last name. I stopped walking. What was it? Dylan what? I searched my phone. Blank wallpaper, no contacts. My voice cracked in my throat, but when I tried to say anything, it came out as a whisper. "Where am I?" And in response, the bell let out a soft groan. Not a ring, a pained, metallic breath. I looked around. The camp had changed. Shadows were longer. The trees leaned closer. And the cabins, they weren't empty anymore. Someone was in cabin 4, watching me from the window. I found my group of campers. 7 kids, each sitting quietly in the mess hall, staring at empty plates. They didn't eat, didn't speak, just watched me. Their name tags had first names only. I asked where they were from. No answer. Then one boy, Jonas, spoke up. "The more you ask, the more you lose." I laughed nervously. "Lose what?" He blinked. "Your pieces." When I turned to ask another camper a question, I forgot what I'd just said. That night, I slept in the counselor's quarters, which creaked constantly, like it was alive. Around 2 a.m., I heard faint whispers under the floorboards. I leaned down. A voice, just beneath the wooden slats. "We're not campers. We're fragments. Help us remember." I ripped up a corner of the floor, and underneath was not dirt, but mirrors. just mirrors. And in them, I saw myself, but younger, bleeding from the ears, smiling. Then the reflection leaned forward and whispered, "You signed up. You said yes." By the third day, everything felt off. The lake water reflected the wrong sky. At night, the stars spun in unnatural spirals. Time stuttered. I passed a clock tower. Its hands moved counterclockwise. And then it hit me. This camp didn't exist in the real world. It was a collection point, a memory sink, a halfway place for people who had said yes to something they didn't understand. The counselors weren't in charge. We were the ones being processed. I confronted the head staff member, an old man in a red windbreaker named Hal. I asked him, "What is Camp Grayshore?" He smiled gently. "A sanctuary for the unwanted parts of you. A place for memories you were too afraid to keep." And then he asked, "Do you want to leave?" I nodded. He said, "Then you must take something back with you." I opened my palm and found a strange, twitching moth made of black paper. If it flies away, you forget everything again. If you crush it, someone else disappears in your place. He smiled. "Choose." I stepped toward the edge of the forest, paper moth in hand. The trees bowed away as I walked. Behind me, the campers began humming, no melody. Just a sound like mourning. I looked at the moth. It pulsed like a beating heart. I released it. It flew away, over the lake, through the melting bell tower, into the sky. Then I woke up. I was back home. Or something like home. But now, mirrors don't show my reflection properly. I forget conversations mid-sentence. And sometimes, I see campers from Group C on the streets. They don't age. They just watch. The bell still rings, somewhere in the distance, every day at 2:14 p.m. I don't know what I left behind, or what I brought back. But I know this. If someone offers you a summer job at Camp Grayshore, don't say yes. If this story twisted your mind and sent chills down your spine, subscribe now and help me hit 1,000 subscribers so I can keep sharing real nightmares born from forgotten corners of the human soul. This was Nightmare and Fear. And some memories are better left erased. It was supposed to be a team-building retreat, just 5 of us from the office, sent off into the woods for 3 days of connection and nature. We drove 6 hours to a remote campground called Camp Marrowfall, a place not even Google Maps seemed sure about. The last sign we saw was half swallowed by moss and read only. Echoes return what should have stayed gone. I thought it was some poetic nonsense. We laughed. Took selfies. We had no idea what we were stepping into. The camp looked normal enough. Empty, but clean. Rows of cabins, a dining hall, and a lake that didn't ripple even in the wind. The air was quiet. Too quiet. And then we heard the first echo. Not ours. It happened that night. We were sitting around a campfire, swapping stories. When Daniel finished telling his joke, we all laughed, and then heard it again. The same laugh. From the trees. Exact same tone, exact same breath. delayed by about 7 seconds. We paused. "Echo," Sarah said, trying to play it cool. But this echo didn't follow sound. It waited, repeated only what it wanted. Then, after total silence, we heard Daniel's voice again. "You ever get the feeling we're not supposed to be here?" He hadn't said that. Not yet. The next morning, I opened the camp brochure they had left in cabin 3. It had a map of the grounds. But something felt off. There was a structure listed that didn't exist the day before. Echo chamber, do not enter without permission. We walked up to explore and, sure enough, it was there now. A small concrete bunker half buried in the hillside near the lake, covered in vines. No door. Just a narrow vertical slit like a mouth stitched shut. None of us remembered seeing it the day before. Sarah said, "Let's go back." Daniel was staring at the structure, not blinking. I remember this place. Back in the cabins, things got worse. Time looped. Daniel dropped his flashlight. We all saw it hit the floor. 10 seconds later, it dropped again. Identical sound. Same angle. He didn't move. None of us did. Later that night, I stood to brush my teeth and heard myself ask, "Where's Sarah?" But I hadn't spoken. The words crawled up the wall beside me, like a whisper made of light. Sarah was still in her bunk, fast asleep. On night 2, the echoes got bold. We'd hear knocks on our cabin walls, followed by one of our own voices asking to be let in. Once, while lying awake, I heard my own voice outside the window whisper, "I'm still out here." That's not me inside. I froze. Then, from the bunk across the room, my roommate sat up and said, "I heard it too." Except, I was alone in the cabin that night. On the final day, we decided to leave. No phones worked. The road was gone, literally replaced by dense trees and moss like it had never existed. So we went to the echo chamber. The door was open now. Inside, mirrors. Hundreds, covering the walls, floor, even the ceiling. But they didn't reflect us. Instead, they showed versions of us. Each reflection twisted slightly, wrong smiles, bloodshot eyes, missing limbs. In one, I was knocking on the cabin window, whispering to myself. Daniel touched one of the mirrors. His reflection grabbed him. He screamed. When we pulled him back, his reflection stayed. Still moving. Still smiling. A voice echoed inside the chamber. Not from a speaker. From inside our bones. One must stay, or all become echoes. It offered us a trade. We had to leave someone behind, someone the chamber would copy forever. If not, the chamber would replace all of us with its echo versions. Daniel volunteered. But when we turned to stop him, he was already gone. Standing inside the mirror. Watching. His mouth moved, but no sound came. Then the real Daniel stepped out of the chamber, or so we thought. We made it back to the road. This time, it was there. The trees had moved. We didn't question it. We just drove. But things have been wrong since we returned. Sometimes my reflection moves before I do. Sarah doesn't blink anymore, not once in 6 days. Daniel hums a tune none of us remember, until we find ourselves humming it too, in our sleep. We didn't leave the echoes behind. We are the echoes now. If you enjoyed this chilling and completely original tale from Nightmare and Fear, don't forget to subscribe and help me reach 1,000 subscribers. The deeper we go, the more truths we'll uncover. And next time you hear a voice you didn't say, don't answer. Have you ever wondered what happens in places the world has forgotten? What if there's a camp buried so deep in the woods, no map remembers it, and those who leave don't remember either? Welcome to Nightmare and Fear. I'm Dylan, and tonight's story isn't about a creature or a ghost. It's about a camp that watches you and learns. If you're new here, subscribe now and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. These stories are real, or at least, they want to be. Now sit back, turn down the lights, and listen closely. Because this one's about... I didn't apply for Camp Blackroot. I don't even remember packing. I just woke up in cabin 12. My bag was at the foot of the bed. Everything inside it had my name on it, Brent Callahan, but I don't remember anyone ever calling me that before. There was a camp shirt neatly folded on the table, and a note. The program begins at sundown. You must stay 7 days. Do not enter cabin 9. Do not speak to anyone who resembles yourself. I stepped outside. The woods were thick, silent, like they had never known birds. And across the clearing, other campers were stepping out too, same dazed looks, same clothes. None of us remembered arriving. Our counselor was a man named Trent, who wore mirrored sunglasses even at night. He told us the rules again. Stay with your assigned group. Lights out by 10. Don't ever answer voices coming from the trees. That night, I sat with my bunkmates around the fire. No one really talked, until one kid, a pale guy named Lewis, broke the silence. He asked, "Why are there 2 moons tonight?" We looked up. He was right. One moon, familiar. The other, darker, twitching slightly. We laughed nervously. But none of us were laughing the next morning, when Lewis was gone. In his bed, just a small pile of teeth. Cabin 9 was always visible from ours, crooked, boarded shut, with something like vines wrapping around its roof. But on the second night, it was gone. Just vanished. And then we heard it screaming from somewhere else in the woods. Not someone inside it, the cabin itself. Wood groaning, windows rattling, like a building having a nightmare. I asked Trent where Lewis had gone. He just said, "Echoes don't die. They just settle." I started digging behind our cabin. Don't ask me why, I just felt drawn to it. Only a few inches below the dirt, I hit something hard. Not rock. Not wood. It was bone. Massive. Like a whale's vertebrae. But we were nowhere near the ocean. Then I noticed the grass around it was pulsing. Breathing. That night, I heard Lewis again. Outside the cabin. Whispering. I found the root. It knows who we are. I didn't open the door. But someone did. The next morning, there was a new camper in our cabin. He said his name was Brent Callahan. But that's my name. He looked like me. Spoke like me. Even laughed like me. The others didn't seem to notice. I asked Trent. He pulled me aside and whispered, "There is no you. Not anymore. Just patterns. This camp eats the real and leaves behind the performance." I begged to leave. He pointed at the woods. "You can go. But the forest only lets one version of you out." On day 5, I found a trapdoor beneath the mess hall. Beneath it, a network of tunnels. Breathing walls. Glowing moss. And on those walls, faces. Carved into the roots. Mine. Lewis. Trent's. Hundreds more. Every face had their eyes sewn shut with something that wasn't thread. At the end of one tunnel, there was a mirror. But not a mirror. A screen. Showing me, standing above ground, smiling, walking, without me. I confronted Trent again. "What is this place?" He answered, calmly. "You all came here running from something. Regret. Guilt. Memory. This camp lets you walk away from it. But it keeps your echo." And then he said, "Would you rather forget, or be remembered by something that isn't you?" The final morning, Cabin 9 returned. Right in the middle of the camp. Its door was open. We were told only one camper leaves. The others stay. Forever. We had to choose. The other me, Brent, looked at me with hollow eyes and said, "It's okay. I've been here before. Then he walked inside cabin 9. The moment the door shut, the rest of the camp crumbled into ash. The trees withered. The second moon blinked out, and I was alone, standing on a dirt road. A single bus pulled up. I got on. I'm home now. But sometimes, when I pass mirrors, I swear my reflection blinks twice. And last night, I found a shirt folded on my bed. It says Camp Blackroot, Session 2. This time, the note says, "You returned willingly. Welcome back." If this story made you think twice about who you really are, you might already be at Camp Blackroot. This was Nightmare and Fear. I'm Dylan. Don't forget to subscribe and help us reach 1,000 subscribers before one of your echoes beats you to it. Until next time, stay out of cabin 9. What if a campfire could remember the stories told around it? What if the flames started telling their own stories back? Welcome to Nightmare and Fear. I'm Dylan, and tonight's tale is unlike anything you've heard before. This is a story about a campfire that doesn't just burn wood, it burns time. If you're new here, subscribe now and help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Every new subscriber keeps the fire alive. Now, listen closely. Don't blink. And whatever you do, don't feed the flame. I never signed up for Campfire. I never even heard of it. But one day, a wax-sealed envelope showed up at my door. No return address. Inside was a letter. "We know you've forgotten what you saw that night. Come to Campfire. Let us help you remember." Thing is, I had forgotten something. Something from my childhood. A single memory that had always been blurred out, like a scratched photo. And somehow, this camp, this place, claimed to know what it was. I shouldn't have gone. Campfire didn't have cabins. Just tents, all arranged in a perfect circle around a massive fire pit made of black stone. We arrived at sunset. The counselor, an older woman named Mara, greeted each of us by full name, no introductions. She handed each of us a stick and said, "Every night, you must feed the flame one memory. In return, it will keep you warm. If you stop, the fire will find its own kindling." We thought she was joking. She wasn't. We sat in a circle around the fire. Mara stood beside it, her face half lit by the glow. "Close your eyes," she said. "Think of something you've forgotten. Or wish you had." I thought about the time my dog ran away when I was 7. A moment of guilt. The fire crackled, then flared bright blue. "Now, speak it aloud," Mara commanded. I whispered the memory. The log in my hand shuddered. I threw it into the flame. The fire screamed. Just for a moment. Not in pain. In pleasure. Each night, we gave the fire a memory. Each night, it grew smarter. It started speaking. Not in words, but in flashes, moments from our lives we hadn't shared yet. Secrets. Dreams. Nightmares we thought were private. One camper, Olivia, confessed to seeing something in the woods, a figure shaped like herself, staring back with coal eyes. The next morning, she was gone. In her place, a log. Still smoldering. By the 4th night, I noticed something strange. I started having memories that weren't mine. A classroom I never attended. A brother I never had. A fire I never started, but felt guilty for. And the fire? It knew. That night, it whispered in my voice. "Do you want to know what really happened when you were 6? The others didn't hear it. Only me. That's when I realized. The fire wasn't just burning wood. It was burning selves. I confronted Mara. "What is this place?" She didn't answer. Instead, she knelt beside the fire and held her hand over it. Every person has stories they bury. Campfire is where they dig themselves back out. And then she placed her hand into the flame. She didn't burn. She changed. Her voice split into 3. Her face blurred like static. Her shadow danced without her. "I was like you once," she said. "Now I am the flame's mouth." The fifth night, the fire changed. It grew faces. Burning, flickering faces of children who had once come to Arenda and stayed. They cried without sound. Their mouths moved, but no words came. Only ash. I ran from the fire that night. Into the woods. Into the cold. But there are no exits at Camp Arenda. Only circles. I came back hours later, freezing, and found my tent gone. In its place, another black log. And on it, scratched with fingernails. Feed it, or be fed. I had nothing left to give. Nothing that was mine. But the fire still wanted more. So I made a choice. I invented a memory. One that never happened. A lie. I whispered, when I was 10, I pushed my twin brother into a well. I never had a brother. But the fire paused. And then it laughed. Flames shot 20 feet into the sky. The other campers screamed. The ground shook. And from the fire, a boy climbed out. Wet. Pale. Blinking. He looked just like me. That was last night. I'm not sure if I'm the original anymore. He sleeps in my bed. He knows my stories better than I do. And now, every time I blink, I feel smoke in my lungs. A new letter arrived today. Same wax seal. It says, "The fire is hungry again. This time, it knows your name." If this story gave you chills, imagine what's still waiting out there in the dark. I'm Dylan, and this was Nightmare and Fear. Subscribe now and help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers before the fire tells a story that includes you. And remember, fire never lied to the flame. It always knows. Fire. Have you ever heard something in the woods that shouldn't exist? Not a person. Not an animal. Something that sounds like a voice. But it doesn't belong to anyone. Tonight, on Nightmare and Fear, we dive into a story you've never heard before. A story not about what lives in the woods, but about what learns from them. I'm Dylan, and if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. We're building the darkest corner of YouTube, and we want you in the circle. Now, keep your flashlight close. And don't answer anything that calls your name. Even if it sounds like you. There were 6 of us. Teen volunteers sent to restore a long-abandoned campground called Camp Quellen, deep in the Appalachian Mountains. The site had been shut down in the 80s after a series of disappearances the state refused to explain. We were told the land had been cleared. They lied. We found it on the second day. A massive tree, far older than the others, standing alone in the middle of the camp. Its bark was unnaturally smooth, and it had no leaves, yet it didn't look dead. A small sign lay rotting at its base. The only word still legible. Mimic. My friend Riley joked, maybe it used to echo campers or something. That night, the tree spoke. It started with laughter. Not creepy, not evil. Just our laughter. We were sitting by the campfire when we heard Riley's laugh coming from the woods, clear as day, but she was sitting right next to me, staring wide-eyed. We thought it was a prank. Echoes. Something normal. But then it started saying things we hadn't said out loud. Things we only thought. At night, I heard my mom's voice calling me from outside the tent. She's been dead for 3 years. The others heard voices too. A dead brother. A boyfriend. A version of themselves begging to come inside. But whenever we checked the woods, only the mocking tree stood there. Still. Listening. And learning. On the 4th night, I went to the tree alone. I don't know why. I felt pulled. There was something in the bark now, a face. Not carved. Grown. It was mine. I leaned closer, and it blinked. Riley vanished next. We heard her voice coming from every direction that night. Laughing, crying, screaming for help. When we found her the next morning, she was alive, but different. Too still. Too quiet. Her eyes didn't focus. She only spoke in our voices now. That night, we burned the tree. We soaked it in gasoline and set it ablaze. It screamed in every voice we had ever known, family, friends, ourselves. But it didn't burn. It absorbed the fire, fed off it, and then it moved. Just once. A twitch. A lean. As if it was turning to listen. We ran. No tents. No gear. Just into the night. But the woods were wrong. Trees where there hadn't been trees. Paths that looped back. And the voices followed us. Each time we shouted for help, the forest answered back in our own voice, twisted and hollow. I don't know how I got out. I woke up on the road. Alone. Covered in bark dust. The others didn't make it. Or maybe they did. Just not as themselves. Now, sometimes at night, I hear someone in my apartment. They move like me. Speak like me. But they don't blink. And when I look in the mirror, sometimes I see the tree behind me. Growing. Remembering. Mimicking. If this story reached into your bones, it means the tree knows your voice now too. Want to hear more horrors like this? Subscribe to Nightmare and Fear and help us hit 1,000 subscribers. Because the woods have stories that haven't been told yet. And they're waiting for you to listen. Have you ever wondered what happens to places where time forgets to move? Not haunted. Not cursed. Just left behind, yet somehow still alive? Welcome to Nightmare and Fear. I'm Dylan, and tonight's story is one I dare you to forget. It's about a summer camp that wasn't abandoned, it was paused. If you enjoy true horror that creeps into your head and refuses to leave, hit that subscribe button and help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Because if this story disappears tomorrow, someone needs to remember it existed. The official name was Camp Winslow, but we called it the Clock Camp. Not because of anything obvious, there were no clocks on the buildings, no time-themed activities. But there was always a sense that time moved wrong here. Minutes felt like hours. Days vanished like smoke. The birds didn't follow daylight. The sun didn't rise the same way twice. And in the center of camp, half buried in the dirt, stood an ancient grandfather clock, with no hands. I was 16 when I volunteered at Camp Winslow. On the third day, something strange happened. At breakfast, the camp was normal. Kids playing. Staff laughing. The sun was high. The next thing I knew, it was pitch black. Stars overhead. Campfire burning. I hadn't moved. No one had. Every single person sat exactly where they were, staring blankly, like mannequins. Then, as if nothing had happened, a kid clapped and said, "Can we have marshmallows now?" We all played along. But I looked at my watch. It was still 8:12 a.m. We started testing it. We'd leave something on the ground and turn our backs. A hat. A flashlight. A book. Sometimes it would move. Sometimes it would vanish. Sometimes it would rot, like it had been there for years. One night, I turned around to grab my flashlight, and it was gone. In its place, an identical one, but cracked, dusty, and wrapped in cobwebs. Like it had aged decades in 5 seconds. I became obsessed with the grandfather clock. It didn't tick. Didn't chime. Didn't move. But if you stared long enough, it felt like it was pulling on something inside you. Not your body. Your memories. I stood in front of it one night for hours. At least I think it was hours. And when I finally blinked, everyone else was gone. I ran to the cabins. Empty. The dining hall. Empty. Even the forest, no birds. No wind. But then I heard it. A distant bell. I followed the sound until I found the campers again, eating breakfast, laughing like nothing had happened. But I remembered this moment. Word for word. It was the same breakfast from the morning of the time jump. I tried to warn them. Tried to explain. They all looked at me like I was crazy. Like they hadn't lived that day 3 times already. One night, I found something outside my cabin. A journal. Mine. Same handwriting. Same stains. Even the same doodles. But it was written in past tense. I tried to leave, but every road leads back to the clock. I think I've been here for months. Maybe years. I don't remember arriving anymore. I'm not sure I'm the original me. I flipped to the last page. It was dated tomorrow. The next night, the clock had changed. 2 black iron hands had appeared. Both were moving backwards. And every time they ticked, I felt a memory slip from my mind. First my mom's face. Then my dog's name. Then, why I ever came to camp in the first place. I tried to run. But the further I got from the clock, the slower I moved. The forest blurred. My body felt like it was swimming through molasses. And behind me, the clock kept ticking. Back. 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 I don't think Camp Onslow is haunted. I think it's a fracture in time. A place where timelines break and pieces get stuck. Every camper that ever vanished, they're still there. Just in a different loop. Some older. Some younger. Some not quite human anymore. I saw one in the trees. It had my voice. It waved at me. And its mouth moved without sound. But I knew what it said. Your time is almost up. If this story unsettled you, imagine waking up and living it again tomorrow. I'm Dylan, and this was Nightmare and Fear. Don't let this story vanish like the others. Subscribe now and help us reach our 1,000 subscriber goal. We've got more stories waiting for you, if time lets us tell them. And remember, Mantelpiece Clock, never trust a place with no clocks. Especially when it knows your name. Mantelpiece Clock.